Hi, I'm Gillian and I am back with Scott, and we're picking up with where we reintroduced actual resistance training and weight training, which was about 2 months post-injury.
Correct.
So how did that start?
It was terrifying. There was a lot of mental weight that I was holding. It had nothing to do with the physical weight that we were moving at the time.
A lot of fear.
There was a lot of fear because I was just starting to be able to sleep longer as opposed to at first it was not at all, and then it was maybe 20 30 minutes at a time, and then an hour, and now I was getting 4 and 5 hours of unbroken sleep, and I didn't want that to go away. And I had was able to give up that cane and walk on my own, so there was a lot riding on this. But we took a very slow, steady, consistent approach.
We would do 1 or 2 exercises, maybe 3 sets. And we were working out at the university gym, and there was a track upstairs, so we would do 1 exercise, a few sets of it, and then we'd go upstairs and walk 2 laps around the track. And then we'd come down and do another exercise and go upstairs and walk a couple of laps around the track.
Right.
And what we were trying to do is accumulate a bout of activity.
Correct. And the other thing that I'll say is the walk really enabled me to calm down and realize that I didn't do any further harm with this resistance training, and that I was able to regroup and focus on what was coming up next.
Another thing is we had to push a little bit of ego outside of it, because our background is barbell training, and for me, some Olympic lifting and CrossFit, and we had to realize that it was okay to utilize machines during this. So there was cables, there were machines, It was anything that we could do that was pain-free, and we allowed pain to be our guide.
Yes.
If there was pain, we wouldn't do it, or if he had to alter his movement in some way to be able to perform the exercise. And there were some things that were just uncomfortable getting on and off of, like something like a bench press. The pain didn't occur necessarily during the bench press. The pain occurred getting on and off the bench. So maybe at that time we were forced into using some type of chest machine, which previously, we may have dismissed, this is not functional.
It wasn't the right tool for the job at that time, but in this time it was.
Yep.
And I think it really forced me, and I've said it for years, does it hurt or are you injured? And it helped me dial into, am I uncomfortable or is this doing some harm?
Yep.
It must have been very profound that she stopped talking.
I never run out of words.
No, she does not.
Oh no, I ran out of words.
She's thinking of the next question. So, but getting back to the walking, and then, we would do an exercise, we would go for a walk. It also allowed us to sort of adjust the dial a little bit. So instead of walking for 2 laps between exercises, we were able to cut it back. All right, let's see if we can take 1 lap between the different iterations. And I think that helped build my physical capability as much as my confidence in my body's ability to do the work.
It was about being able to sustain the activity. It was about kind of breaking down the fears during that time. And it was also about rebuilding. So as you get older, if you stop training, you lose muscle mass much more rapidly.
Which I did. I had gone...
It was shocking.
I had lost about 10 pounds during just the injury time period. And again, we're talking about 2 months at this point.
I mean, your clothes were hanging off of you.
They really were.
I mean, that was just...
And not good 10 pounds.
No.
I mean, I was muscle 10 pounds.
Yes, it was eye-opening to watch that. Granted, there was a pretty enormous reduction in appetite that came from not training and severe pain and lack of sleep. So,
Right.
I mean, those things, are going to affect it anyway.
That was the unholy trinity, yeah.
The diminishment of muscle mass and understanding that we needed to find a way to start taxing the body again and start building that muscle back up.
Right. And not every movement pattern was affected the same. It turned out that I was able to bench press relatively close to what I would have been able to do before the injury, but if it came to a leg press, that had to back way off.
And there were movements that there were more fear than others.
Yeah,
Some movements that were like, the movements that had hurt him previously, the deadlift, being on the rowing machine, those were on the list of, I'm not doing these things.
I drew a red line on a couple of different exercises, and the rowing machine was one.
And there were times, I mean, it was a struggle sometimes because the workout would be going all right, and then you would do something and something would not feel right, and like instantly you would close down. Is that fair?
If by close down you mean I became a little bit of a jerk, yes. That's what happened. I'm sorry.
It was definitely a process, and we are now in November.
Right.
Right? Getting ready for Thanksgiving.
We
so
are.
How many months post-injury are we?
Math in public would say we are 9 months after.
Okay. So how long? So we're 9 months after now, and we're going to talk about what training looks like and mindset looks like now. But how long before you woke up with the injury happening in February?
Right.
Where you woke up and you're like, I don't have pain anymore.
It was probably, I mean, it was into May or June.
Yep.
It was that long. I mean, and I felt better, but there was always something, you know, and I still have issues. If I have to stand for a while, or if I'm sitting for a while, driving a prolonged distance, you know, and oh, by the way, even just, you know, that movement that we talked about, lifing, you know, moving dog food bags, it still comes back. But at that, to answer your question, it was May or June before I was able to function without pain.
But I think what that's brought for us is a level of respect. Again, if you've been with us over the past few episodes, Scott had somewhat of a chronic back issue.
I did.
Before that. But this last injury, you know, had us kind of looking at things in a different light. We know this is a weak point for him.
Right.
And we also have been able to identify the things that are going to trigger it.
Right.
And there's been a shift in goals for us that has come from this.
We're chasing different numbers.
We're chasing different numbers. So talk a little bit about the chase for numbers and post-injury. What is important to you when it comes to training and when it comes to goals?
Well, when if you remember back earlier, you know, I'd started strength training, and for someone at that age, I was pretty happy with the way the numbers were going. So I was chasing a 500-pound deadlift, I was chasing a 405-pound squat, and a 315-pound bench press. Overhead press was important, but you know, I wasn't chasing any specific number there. But at this point, post-injury, my numbers have nothing to do with a squat, bench, or a deadlift, and they have everything to do with blood pressure and hours of quality sleep and how long I can live a functional life, how many years I can attain in my life.
It really came down to just an honest look at what is important to us. Like, you used to be a competitive triathlete.
I did.
I used to be a competitive whole bunch of things, and really having the maturity and to acknowledge that that may not be where we are today. It does not mean we cannot have physical goals. It does not mean that we cannot achieve new heights and things, but that goal in and of itself can't be the driving force to chase something that we know you're going to get an injury. So
right.
for him to go back to the pursuit of a 500-pound deadlift at this point does not make sense.
It doesn't make sense because, quite frankly, if I get the 500-pound deadlift, at what cost? You know, how many more days, nights, weeks, or months of sleep am I going to lose because of, you know, re-aggravating the same old injury? Whereas if I just adjust what's important, and for me, the physical performance is still very important.
Yes.
You know, the physical fitness, that is very central to kind of who I am and who we are. But it just comes down to how are we measuring that? And it's the metrics that have changed just a little bit.
Absolutely. We don't put any less effort into what we do in the gym.
No.
We go out there and we try just as hard every day. We haven't backed off in that sense, but it's a reorganization of what are the things that are important to us. So, Scott, if you had to make your list, and I said, you know, what are your goals? Like, what is important to you in physical fitness?
Well, for physical fitness, for me, it's I want to be able to perform daily activities of living pain-free. I want to be able to move things around the house. I want to be able to work in the yard. I want to be able to work on the house, work on a vehicle. You know, at first,
Sleep through the night.
I sleep through the night.
Yeah.
You know, very basic daily activities, which have nothing to do with measurable or attainable goals. It's just I want to be able to move relatively pain-free as somebody in their 50s can be.
And to get your annual physical and have good blood markers.
Correct.
And good blood pressure. And I mean, this all sounds, it's like, man, how do I get motivated to do things like lower my blood pressure or go and be like, your A1C level is great. And it's that those may be the bigger goals, but we still maintain in the gym things that excite us.
Right.
But they're just directed differently. It's not going to be, I need to hit this number, you know, for my self-worth.
Right.
I need to hit a 500-pound deadlift for that.
Right.
It's like, we're going to go into the gym today, we're going to try to accomplish this, whatever
Right.
this may be.
Right. And, you know, again, going back to why I no longer chase a 500-pound deadlift is because, you know, when I'm 65, 70, 75, 85 years old, I still want to be able to do the same things. I want to be able to work in the yard. I want to be able to help around the house. I want to be able to move a bag of dog food. And I don't want to do anything that just digs that hole just a little bit deeper. And, you know, one of the beauties of having Gillian as my coach is, you know, every time I've said something about a workout, like I'm starting to be afraid of the numbers on the barbell, we've pivoted.
Yeah.
When I hurt my back, we pivoted. When I say, you know, I'd really like to chase more of an aesthetic goal at this point, she's able to pivot. And really, that's what keeps me going back in the gym. And it's what takes the fear away of the gym.
So our goals are consistency and effort
Over time.
with direction. And the direction for us is motivated, honestly, by what is bringing us joy at that moment. What do we look forward to where we want to be consistent, and what do we want to give our effort to? So we are currently right now in a bodybuilding split.
Yes.
So we are training. Scott now has a new career and has gone back to work, and he has to leave fairly early in the morning. So rather than have these very long sessions, we now are on a very, very precise schedule.
Right.
And we train Monday through Friday morning, and all of the sessions are an hour in duration and
Right.
not more than that. So we reorganized as a bodybuilding split.
Correct.
And a couple of months ago, you know, we had incorporated a bunch of endurance, and you were swimming.
Yep.
So anytime one of us just starts getting a little bit stale and stuff, we'll talk about it.
Right.
I mean, we walk all of the time. We talk about how are you enjoying the training? Are you seeing any benefits from it? Is your body changing? Is there something you don't like from it? Is there something you want to be working on? And we continue to have these conversations. And our training is like seasons. It takes many different directions throughout the year.
Right. And, you know, there's a balance between wishes, wants, and needs. You know, I wish we had more time to train. I want to be able to accomplish these goals, but I need to get these workouts done in an hour because I have to go to work. So it is finding what you can do in the time allotted. Now, we get up at 4:15 in the morning to make sure that we can get these things done. And when I come home from work, we take Hank for a walk, and it's another 20, 30 minutes of activity. But for us, that's what helps us keep things going. And it doesn't mean that every workout is something that I look forward to and wake up and yay, we get to go do whatever. There are some times where it's just head down and grind. But overall, I would say that our training method, it's getting us the results that we want, and it's absolutely enjoyable in the pursuit over the long run.
And I mean, we ask ourselves the basic questions. Do we feel better, or do we feel good? You know, do we look better if we're chasing an aesthetic, which, you know, nutrition is most of that.
Right.
And like,
Because you can't out-exercise a bad diet.
Performing better at something? Is there something, whether that could be, you know, an exercise going from 8 reps to 10 reps on it, but some small thing. It is important to have the small things that we measure progress
Absolutely.
on.
Absolutely. All right.
How do you want to end this one?
I think we're going to say it's coming up on the 15-minute mark, and we really appreciate you all sticking with us this far into it. So, do we have a next, or is this one it?
Yeah, I think on the injury, I think this one is it, unless there's more about it that you would like to hear about. And if there is, please place your questions in the comments below.
Make a comment below.
And we'll be back with something else at some time, right?
Hopefully something interesting. All right. Thank you all very much for putting up with us through the series.
Thank you.
Bye.